Hello, people. Hope we're doing well. It has been a while since I posted a video, but I was feeling the flow today, so why the hell not? And I kind of wanted to bring something else to the forefront of all of this craziness that's been going on, with the Capitol riots, which I'll talk about, but maybe not in the way that you think I will. So, we have all been feeling a lot of emotions. I know I did. And it was kind of hard. So we have three kinds of people on social media, at least on my social media that I've been seeing. Um, we've I've seen people on the left and on the right, and then I've seen people on the left and the right in the middle here who are just quiet. But see, these people on the ons here are pointing fingers and arguing. I had some input to put in here and there. I've tried to do it in a way that was more healthy lately because I'm realizing that the polarization in this country is so extreme, and some, it's like a dawning on me that maybe it's time that I stop my own self-righteousness and uh, try to understand or find some better insight into what's going on. Um, so right before the riots happened, I ordered a book, and it couldn't have been the more perfect book to order right before. This is a book. It's The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion by Jonathon Haidt. This book was written in 2013, um, and it's absolutely relevant and it's absolutely fascinating. Um, so I will read you a quote from the first part of the book, and this kind of will set the standard. Um, I have striven not to laugh at human actions, not to weep at them, and not to hate them, but to understand them. Spinoza, philosopher. Uh, that is kind of the spot I kind of find myself in, is wanting a better understanding of myself and a better understanding of others. So the first part of this book is, which is the only part I've read. I don't want to go on till I make this video because I don't want to kind of confuse concepts, and it's a lot to cover. There's a lot of information, but it's really a book that brings you up in the beginning to tear you down. And I think that Haidt had a goal in this, and I'll talk about this towards the end of the video. I have 15 minutes, so I have to stay on topic. But there is a discussion about where morals come from, and he gives us a brief history of that debate. And we ask ourselves, well, are morals innate, or are they not, right? Nature versus nurture. Are they just based on our upbringing and, you know, or are they just a part of us, a foundational part of us? And then he brings in the rationalist point of view, which is based on the blank slate, right? So that would be more of a nurture-based call. And it does pull in some nature as well. But anyways, that's, it's compelling. It's a really good thing to read. It shows you kind of where psychology has gone, or philosophers have gone, try to answer this question. Now, Jonathon Haidt is an intuitionist, so he believes that emotions come first. And he gives us some examples that kind of show this. And there's a lot of studies of evidence in this in the book. And I think a lot of psychologists and scientists are really realizing now that emotions do come first. Reason doesn't have a hold on everything, reason comes second. So a good example of this that Jonathon Haidt brings up, and he brought this up in his previous book, is the elephant and the rider. So the elephant is our intuitions, our gut feelings, our emotions. And our reason is the writer, and our reason comes with our language abilities, right? But our intuition evolved first, and our gut feelings, and that's who's mostly in control. And when we think of somebody without our emotions or intuitions, which would be psychopaths, right? Um, they lack that. It, it's they can reason, but their relationships might fail, and a world based on psychopaths might not be the best world. So we're all justified in our emotional reasoning, and there's nothing to be ashamed when we do say emotions come first and reason comes second. So I find that really compelling, and there's a lot of evidence for that. And that's where I kind of stand, because especially when you ask or you start looking at what's going on in people's arguments, you can see that um, sometimes we're morally dumbfounded. And I realize that about myself. One prime example was the violence in the Black Lives Matter movement. So when the violence struck and it was becoming an issue, my instant reaction was sadness. But then I supported the cause. And it's like I wanted to find a reason why people were being violent, or, as a reason to justify it, which is really bizarre because I'm a very anti-violent person. And I don't believe that violence in our society, uh, it has no recourse. We have processes that you can go through for justice. And although it might take a while, there are processes, nonviolent processes, that um, are better tools. So I am anti-violence. But that is a weird thing. And then when somebody had questioned me about the violence, I became morally dumbfounded. Uh, I, it's like I wanted to say, yes, I know there's violence, but this cause is good. This cause was originally anti-violence. This cause is good. There's some violent actors, and they might be justified because blah. Well, I didn't. I kept to my foundations. I said violence is unacceptable because, in my view, it's not. And I know in my heart that I wanted to justify it, but that I couldn't. Um, we can go into the details of how that violence, but are those violent actors, the opportunists, whatever? But there's just really no excuse for it. People did lose their businesses were damaged. Some people died or were injured. There's a lot of reasons we can go into it, but it's really not justifiable. So when the right now is pointing fingers at the left, they're essentially going through the same things because they might have supported the cause, right? The Stop the Steal cause. Now, because they supported the cause, or they might have just supported Trump and didn't know about the Stop the Steal cause. So these are Trump supporters and they want to justify the violence. I've seen this in a couple ways. It's either calling hypocrisy on the left for supporting their violent actors. But then I've also saw some interesting memes where they try to find another victim, where they try to justify it in terms of, well, the government's the problem. I mean, if the people feel this passionate about attacking the government, then the government's the problem. So it's quite interesting how our thinking goes. And Jonathon Haidt acknowledges this, and it's because we have confirmation biases. We don't necessarily look for other information. Like if we're in tune to a movement or a politician or something, we're just likely to try to justify that rather than seeking out exploratory uh, information to maybe be more developed or not less one-sided in our views. That was a prime example I felt that was relevant today. So props to Jonathon Haidt. for bringing that up. So that's what I mean about bringing you up to tear you down. He put in the first part of the book, it was really a bringing you up and showing you your functions and how awesome they are, and your emotional functions. Well, then he really kind of humbles you, um, which was his intent, I'm pretty sure, uh, by bringing up our own self-righteousness and hypocrisies. And data shows and testing shows, and there's many studies in the book. It's super fascinating. Again, I recommend it, but it kind of shows that we are all hypocrites. And um, there's so many good examples. I completely recommend this book. But when we are acting self-righteous and we think our reasoning abilities are so much better, well, sometimes they can, but sometimes that's dangerous too. Um, just because you can justify something better uh, doesn't necessarily make it right. And we all have confirmation biases, and we reason off our initial emotions. And I think once we see that, maybe we can be more introspective about some things. So I hope this brought some new kind of thought into what's going on with each other. I have also had some other thoughts, so I'm hoping to find some more information to kind of help me understand myself and understand others. And I hope that other people are seeking that too. When politicians talk about healing, and they've done it on both sides, we are kind of flabbergasted. We don't necessarily know what they mean. And I think that's warranted. Uh, I've questioned both sides. I'm like, oh, what do they mean? But realizing, as Jonathon Haidt would say, that we are all politicians seeking votes. We seek approval for people. We seek approval for our side. We are self-righteous people. We are not scientists that seek the truth necessarily. Can kind of bring us back down to earth a little bit and realize our common humanity, possibly, which is important. And he also talks about how to give better arguments. So while the left and the right are pointing fingers and warring, well, using your reasoning abilities and cramming that down someone's throat doesn't change people's opinions. It's been said before, but Jonathon Haidt kind of gives us the reason why. It's because oh, we're just really not open to that. It'll compel us to argue or try to get our side. When we are open to new information, it's because we are talking to our elephants, right? We're talking to our emotions. We're finding commonality or something, that we can share and agree on. And yeah, I completely recommend this book. When I read reviews, there was bad reviews on the left and the right, but there was really good in between views, so that made me think it was a really good book and that it could possibly give me something. And I went in with an open mind, and I'm, I'm excited about it. It's fascinating. Everybody should read it. I thought about some questions to think about. I don't know. I only have 1 minute left, so I'm really not going to go into them. But part 2 of this book goes into our moral spectrum. It talks about how morality is not just based on harm, right? A lot of people say harm none and carry on. Well, our morality is a lot broader and deeper than that. So maybe part 2 will be in order, and I can describe some of that. And if you're interested in kind of leaping out of these arguments, then that would be, something you're interested in. Anyways, peace.